Virtuoso is mid-season 6, one episode after the one where the Doctor was stranded on that donut planet and had a family including a son, and 2 episodes after Fairhaven, when Janeway was snogging a holographic Irishman. This week they're helping the Komari, some people whose ship was damaged, and who are absolutely insufferable.
We are ready to return to our ship. Could you contact one of your superiors?
She's the nice one. She's not telling him what a piece of shit he is, like the troll here. Their technology is more advanced. That's why they're such arrogant douches.
Forgive us, Captain. We live in a closed system. We are not accustomed to interacting with other species, especially inferior ones.
I reiterate that she's the nice one. Things are that bad.
This way, please.
Just around this station to the bed, then follow the yellow brick road. Well, the jerks are suddenly shocked when the Doctor begins singing, because despite being super advanced, it's never occurred to them before to sing. The Doctor just sings a few classic American folk songs at them, and they react like he just proved alchemy works. They ask him some probing questions on the topic of music. If only Mitsuki was here to help.
We? You mean to say others aboard your ship are capable of producing this phenomenon?
Well, maybe not with my level of expertise, but there are quite a few members of this crew who possess musical skills.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Maybe we judged this culture too quickly.
Our database contains the works of thousands of musicians and composers. If you'd like, I could download some selections for you.
Could you sing them for us?
Make my greatness the center of attention. You've twisted my arm, but I'll do it. They're so impressed that Voyager gets special permission to go to planet Asshole itself, run by Paul Williams.
Welcome to the Komar Planetary Alliance.
Thank you, Prelate. We're looking forward to learning more about your culture.
Our civilization is no doubt intimidating. We'll do what we can to avoid overwhelming you during your stay.
Yeah, do your best. Now, I think this was the planet Stallone insisted that they film Judge Dredd on so that he could appear like a giant. They wanted to have the Doctor, but Janeway suggests the Doctor and other musical people all do a big live performance for them. Oh, it's like that toy monkey with the fez and the cymbals.
Another human musical form is called jazz, which has flourished since the early 20th century. Mathematically, you'll find the rhythmic structures.
You know, I keep expecting Paris to lean over. You know, in some Earth societies, women throw panties to show their approval.
So, without further ado, I give you Harry Kim and the Kim Tones.
Oh, that name is awful. In fact, it's so awful, and I'm being serious. If you type it into Google, it insists you must have something wrong. Even Google is like, quit fucking around, what's the real name? Well, the crowd is no more enthused than the search engine is, because after just a little while, they start complaining loudly and demanding the Doctor back.
We want the Doctor to sing.
Doc, we're dying up there. You've got to do something.
Are we sure we're not in the one where we're seeing his daydreams again? I just better not see him grab Janeway's ass. Seeing it once was already 3 times too many. Afterwards, Harry at least gets recognized.
If you'd like to see the rest of the ship, I'd be happy to give you a tour.
Maybe later. I was wondering if you could introduce me to the Doctor.
You're the leader of the Kingtones, after all. Well, there's no time for that introduction. Paul Williams and Tim Koo. Tim Koo. Sounds like a martial art practiced by nutcrackers. But anyway, they want to hear more. Down on planet Asshole this time. So Janeway finally agrees to extend their stay so that a suitable venue can be created.
If you consider the height of the average Komar, it's obvious that anyone seated in the back 5 rows will have an obstructed view.
You're right. They won't be able to see anything but the top of your head. The glare could blind them.
She's in a good mood, isn't she? Tom must have thrown some of her underwear at the Doctor as a joke.
I plan to segue from Don Juan to Rigoletto in the blink of an eye. It will be a triumph of
arrogance and self-absorption.
It's good to have the support of your friends. Now, don't forget, B'Elanna, you're going to get some fancy tech out of all of this. And that wouldn't happen if the doctor wasn't here to convince these people that you're not a bunch of clowns. I guess he's just going to own it. Brave choice. The concert thankfully happens during the commercial, and when we come back, we discover Seven has ordered a red alert. She believes the locals are launching a DDoS attack on Voyager. But Janeway discovers, actually, it's just a whole lot of fan mail. The Doctor was a huge hit, and they want to know everything about him. Seven can't understand. This is one of those teachable moments about being human, you know. Captain, can you explain to me why humans are drawn to celebrities? Well, there's a number of factors to consider, Data. When one is famous, it is often consciously or subconsciously associated with a sense of authority or power. Humans take notice of such individuals, sometimes to emulate because of that success, or because of the things that they might stand for. It can also serve as an enhancement of one's own sense of self to feel a chance to connect with a figure that has brought them happiness, and to, however briefly, no longer have the situation be one-sided, but to have the figure acknowledge and validate them as people just like them. Captain, can you explain to me why humans are drawn to celebrities? Because losers get to delude themselves into thinking they're important. All right, so what does the actual Janeway have to say?
I suppose it's a way of making themselves feel more important.
That's what I said. Stop wasting time showing clips of me saying what I've already said. This is time I could be spending defacing all the signs with Harry's band name on it. Chop chop. Anyway, a crowd is gathered of people wanting to see the Doctor, even people who have cut their hair to emulate him. Suffice it to say, things have reached a new level of weird. Even compared to normal. Still, it's the perfect size if you need to teach someone the ancient art of Timku. Neelix is on hand to direct the crowd. It's not every day when he and Janeway are among the tallest people in a room. She grabs the Doctor and takes him aside, complaining about the tiny Doctor holograms, but he says that they're manufactured down on planet Asshole, so it won't affect Voyager's reserves. But she's also unhappy that he's neglecting his duties, which he helps by calling her by her first name, which she hates, because it's a clear breach of protocol, and also using it means that she has to teach you how to spin straw into gold. She tells him to piss off back to his real job, which is currently being handled by Paris alone, though it's just groupies faking injuries in the hopes of meeting the Doctor.
I'll bet you can calculate pi to over 1,000 digits.
Well, they're stuck in the Delta Quadrant. I'm sure everyone's done that to try to pass the time.
Have you ever balanced simultaneous equations?
I think that's a math nerd way of asking if he's done two chicks at the same time. He's a bit overwhelmed by this, so he retires to the concert hall to work things over when Kim 2 shows a song that she's composed. But it's far too difficult for his vocal processor. It'd take time that he doesn't have to make changes to be able to reach all the notes. But she thinks that he should just stay, forget his duties on Voyager, and continue to enrich their culture. And, she says in her own way, she has something special with the Doctor. Well, I'm sure Janeway will understand.
You're resigning your commission.
Damn, that voice could freeze a cup of coffee. She says his duty to Voyager supersedes this desire to be a celebrity, and he doesn't take that well.
If Harry Kim met an alien woman on an away mission, fell in love, and decided to spend the rest of his life with her.
It'd be Tuesday. That moron pulls this shit all the time. Remember last week? Captain, this time I really mean it. Ah, and the legion of women before this? What, they were a club? No, I mean there were a lot of them. A legion is a big number, dumbass. Yeah, well, then if you let me stay, you'll regret it. I'll pay you back legionfold. Legionfold. That sounded better before I said it. No, I like it. I can use that one. Look, let's forget the whole... No, I've got it. Legionfold. The medical term for a defect from an improperly circumcised penis. Please let me go or just kill me. Nope, I'm sending this one off for the whole crew to appreciate. Legionfold. That's why you can't go, Harry. This is the most fun I've had since I started reading items from the suggestion box in the voice of an idiot before I threw them away. Sometimes I have no idea where these conversations come from or where they'll go. But the Doctor makes his point.
Raise a family instead of continuing on this journey. You wouldn't stand in his way.
You're not Harry, Kim.
You're actually useful. This whole conversation doesn't know a thing about its context. Last week, the Doctor had a family and then happily returned to Voyager. Now he's intent on leaving for stardom. That's just warped. And 2 weeks ago, Janeway was accepting a hologram as real enough to be her boyfriend, but now the Doctor's just a piece of equipment. This is part of the problem with Virtuoso. Some episodes are uneven, but this is like those things in the road when you approach toll booths. Up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what this is. Well, Seven doesn't take the news well and snubs him when he wants to go, but he explains that this is a chance for him to grow as an individual. But Seven sees that that's just an excuse. What he really wants is fame and adulation, teeming masses to stroke his ego, and he has to admit that that's the truth, but it's something that he's always wanted. Part of the Doctor's charm has been his sense of superiority, often banging up against the reality of his situation. So you can see why, and one can argue that as a self-determined individual, pursuing a life of fame is his choice. But it is also true that the reason for his ego is that he is phenomenal at his job, and leaving Voyager with a long trip home without him is going to almost certainly mean that people who could have lived will die without him. People who have looked out for him as he has looked out for them. Paris is good at, well, everything, of course, but Tom Paris is not doing a triple bypass or treating a brain tumor. You don't do those kinds of things by reading the manual. Normally, I'd side with him and say his friends should be more supportive, but this does feel more like he's abandoning them for no other reason than his own vanity. Well, that ego is in for a serious bruising. Tim Koo calls him down with exciting news. She made her own doctor, a superior model, since he can hit all of the notes in even the most complex works, and he even has proper Komari features. As the new model gloats over superiority, the Doctor, Mr. Holograms have rights to freedom and self-determination and should be treated with the same respect and dignity as any flesh and blood person, shuts him off in mid-sentence. Holographic rights are all well and good until his pride has been bruised. Wounded, he heads back to Voyager to try to reprogram himself to be as good as the replacement, but as Torres points out, after a little gloating of her own, doing what the Doctor wants to try to make him this way would so change him that he would no longer be who he is. So he does his final heartfelt performance and then gets upstaged by his replacement who brings down the house. So he goes back to Janeway, who is as gracious as she can be.
A formal request to be reinstated.
So you've taken off your tails and put them between your legs.
Hope you've put on your groveling pants, Doc. You're going to need them before this meeting's over. She lets him back to work, but as he broods in sickbay, Seven shows up and gives a fan letter of her own for him, to remind him that he is appreciated here, even if there is the occasional cheap shot made at his scalp. Post-episode follow-up? Stupid Neelix's moment is seeing a massive line of people disrupting the mess hall and thinking, how can I encourage more of this? Final score for Virtuoso is 6 out of 10. It's above average for Voyager, but is undermined by its own unevenness. The characters of Voyager are a little too broad, while the Konami are a little too stale. And Paul Williams is wasted in what is basically an extended cameo. This episode was a joint venture by Kenneth Biller and the brand new Raph Green, whose name made me do a double take because I swore it said Red Green. The fact that it's so uneven makes me wonder how it was put together, but I'm guessing that the problem emerged in the scripting, since this was veteran director Les Landau's 60th or so episode for Star Trek, and I think that suggests that he probably knows the tone of the show. The episode works, but a further polish would have made it a classic.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
I'm afraid.